Now that the dust has settled, it is time to examine the Flames schedule and see what exactly they are up against.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess, and thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sport stops sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the first third of the schedule because I think, you got to plan what games you're going to, and is it really a revenge tour for any of the Flames or former Flames? And of course, games that I'm looking forward to and that I think you should circle on your calendar. But before we dive into everything, make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And I just want to say thank you for making Locked On Flames part of your day, especially during the off season. I know that, it can be a little stale, but I think we've had a lot of fun this summer. I think the Flames have kept us pretty busy, and now we get to kind of crack the egg open, I guess. But yes, so the Flames are opening their season on Canadian Thanksgiving weekend, I believe, with a home game against the Flyers, which is super exciting. Well, they're home openers then. I believe they start the season off in Vancouver. But this is super exciting. They played really well against Philly on New Year's Eve. They absolutely devoured the Flyers. And then, if I remember correctly, it almost ended pretty poorly for the Flames. And I think that there's just like this natural like hater energy that just like steams off of John Tortorella. So I love anything John Tortorella related in that aspect, because it just adds like this extra flair of competition, because you have Ryan Huska, who is like so calm and composed versus like a hothead. And that can be fun. And then of course, the energy and what you see on the ice, we don't know what the Flames are going to look like this year. We have this idea. So we'll have to just keep, that in mind. This is a very different team from the Flames team we saw last year, which is kind of scary to think about. It's going to be so weird. But don't get too comfortable, because you're grabbing a shower, you're grabbing your post-game meal, and you're getting on a flight to Edmonton. It's a 3-hour drive, so I'm assuming you would fly the 45 minutes to Edmonton. And I think that this is it's a weird way to start off the season, I guess, because you're doing like a back-to-back and then against like your biggest rival on the second half of the back-to-back, and you only play this divisional rival 3 times, and getting one of the games out of the way this early just kind of stinks. I mean, it can go one of 2 ways, right? Like, you set the tone for the season against each other, and then when you meet again in 3 weeks, you hash it out and it builds, and then you play that final third game and you have like the Battle of Alberta, the true Battle of Alberta. I wish that it was balanced out more, because 2 of the games are in Edmonton, which, like, sure, fine, whatever. But you can play your divisional opponent 4 times. Why not give that to the 2 Albertan teams I think it would just make a lot more sense too. You can have 2 and 2. It's entertaining. It's fun. I wish that there was a way like that they could have made that happen, because it's not, I don't know. I really just wish we got to see more Battle of Alberta. But you're playing them twice in 9 games, which I find very, very interesting. And we're going to talk more about that. But I do think that the schedule is pretty balanced. You start the season with 5 home games and 4 away games. And then, you see Edmonton again. And that's 2 out of your 3 right there. And then 2 out of 3 gone in like 4 weeks is crazy to me. I can't get over that. And then you're heading east to New Jersey. Actually, I lied. It's Montreal, Boston, and Buffalo. The storylines are going to go crazy because you have Lindholm and Zadorov. They have their long-term homes, and we're going to talk more about that later in the show. But I think, with that stretch, you're going to have good narratives. And the week before the trip east, the Devils come to town. So you're going to have the Jacob Markstrom tribute. And again, more storylines. And I think that that's sick. I think that that's so fun. I am always going to eat up any sort of drama, whether it's manufactured or not. So we've got a good season ahead of us. But coming up next, we are going to talk about this imbalance here with the Battle of Alberta. And it is driving me crazy. And I know that I am not alone here. And we will be right back after this break. I love sports, and I love them so much that I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs have wound down, if we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports just aren't sporting like we want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I am in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There is something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today and making Locked On Flames part of your day. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. So I touched on it briefly here about getting the 2 out of the 3 Battle of Albertas out of the way so early. I think really the best part of the rivalry is it's there, right? Like, it does not matter how good your team is, how bad your team is, how unbalanced it is, how good both teams are. It's a natural rivalry. And yeah, of course, there's going to be times where it's better than others. We all watch sports. That's why we're listening to this. And rivalries can be so fun. Like, I grew up watching Red Sox Yankees. There is nothing in this world that gets me more fired up than when the Red Sox and Yankees are both good. And like that mid-July, like, brawl, just absolute smackdown of a series happens. And it is so fun because, there's bragging rights there. And I think, last season, they absolutely got shelled in the Heritage Classic. And like that was a really bad game for the Flames, let's be honest. Tough luck. But then you have a game later in the season where Blake Coleman throws a pretty big hit on Connor McDavid, and like if you want to send a message, that's a message. Loud and clear. And, sure, the Oilers just went to the Stanley Cup final. They lost. And their offseason has not been good. And if there's anything that hockey players do better than playing hockey, it's chirping. So I wouldn't be shocked if you saw like Rasmus Anderson or Mackenzie Weegar doing like little crybaby faces or something like that towards them. Or like when Mackenzie Weegar was like, bye-bye behind the bench. I forget who that was against. It might have been the Oilers, actually. But you get bragging rights. Sure, you don't have Connor McDavid on your team, but they lost the Stanley Cup. You have to take the wins where you can get them. And I think that's going to be really one of the biggest factors of this season is finding that silver lining constantly. I saw there was a comment on one of my previous videos from last week talking about how trying to watch her convince fans that like watching a rebuilding team won't be like or will be fun to watch is laughable. If you just look at the negatives, yes, rebuilding is bad. But if you're interested in watching from the aspect of like, Matt Coronado, what has he improved on? Dustin Wolf, like he's part of this. And I really am looking forward to watching the Battle of Alberta and him getting like initiated into this, because I would expect him to be the Flames long-term goalie. So like just get into it, jump into it. I think it'll be so fun. And every team goes through this. They take their lumps. And I'm just very excited to watch this team and see, how these kids that they have been developing do, how they make that next jump. And there's definitely players that are expected to make the jump that may not, or they're improved on certain skills and maybe they've regressed in some areas. Like there's no way to accurately predict what's going to happen with every player. I want to see Martin Pospisil involved in a Battle of Alberta so bad. I do not condone anything bad, but I think him and Evander Kane, like, yeah, Evander Kane's a lot bigger, but like, just get that mouth going. Just be a yapper. I think that would be so much fun. I'm not really sure what's going on with their goaltending situation either. I know that they bought out Jack Campbell, which like, okay, cool. Like he had that one good season, one or two good seasons with Toronto. But no, like it's just very, it's like territorial. It's right. It's that the bragging rights that you get over a geographical rival. So I am watching or looking at the Oilers Nation, I believe this is. No, Oil on White. And just looking to see like if there's, it looks like Stuart Skinner is going to be their main man, which makes sense. He had a pretty good postseason run, I would say. You need to have good goaltending to make it to the Cup final, even if you lost. So, but I don't know, like realistically, what like what could happen here. Edmonton is the better of the two teams. Like that is not up for debate. They are pretty much better than any team when you look at it on paper, because I mean, you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. It doesn't really get much better than that. So this season will be fun if you allow it to be fun. And if you take every loss personally and like you're the general manager running this team, yeah, it's going to be a tough season. But I mean, what else are you supposed to do? You don't have to watch the games. You don't have to go to the Saddle Dome. You don't have to do any of this. Just if it's not fun, then don't watch. I think that kind of gets lost in the sports fandom sometimes because, like, I think of football fans who just complain the whole season. And it's like, yeah, I get why you're watching like 16, 7, whatever it is, 17 weeks of football because, like, it doesn't matter. Like, time is limited. There are 82 regular season hockey games. If you're not happy with how this team is performing against the Edmonton Oilers, turn it off. Put on like Billy Madison. Put on something that'll make you laugh. But in all seriousness, like it does stink. It does stink getting the rivalry series out of the way so early. Like it doesn't let you build up momentum at all because the Oilers went on a 17, 18, 19 game losing streak last year and they fired their coach. Like, to me, that's crazy. Like, you should want to, like, have them replicate that and be like, oh, look, you're right back where you were before. And, oh, are you going to be able to bounce back from this one? I don't think so. And then, of course, you can chirp them for basically, their general manager, being who their general manager is. I really wish it was more balanced. But then in 3, you get, a best of 3 series, if you will. But at the end of the day, those wins don't matter for the Flames. There's no Stanley Cup trophy for winning 2 out of 3 against the Oilers. Again, you just got to keep that morale high. And I think playing good hockey against the Oilers, especially when they're the much better team, maybe they play down to you. Who knows? I think that's just one of those things you don't know until you're in the moment. But coming up next, we are going to wrap up the show with 3 games that I am personally looking forward to, and one that might actually be a surprise for me to have on my list to some of you. And we will be right back after this break. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. I hope that you are having a great day, and make sure that you are following me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. Every season every season you look forward to a certain matchup, like we just talked about before. The Battle of Alberta, the Canucks, like your division, like true rivals. Or you go out of your way to watch. Like, I can't think of any rivalries off the top of my head naturally, but, like a Boston-Toronto series. Like, those games are crazy because of how competitive they are. And the history between those two teams. So, like the Devils and Rangers, those games are crazy. And for fans to be involved is just like, it's nice. It's really not anything you don't look forward to unless you're really, really bad and there's not much to look forward to. But up first, I have the Devils. The Devils are in Calgary November 1st. which is a Friday, if anyone was wondering. This will obviously be Jacob Markstrom's first game back at the Saddle Dome, which requires them to have that video, tribute video package put together. That's going to go crazy. I'm sorry, but Jacob Markstrom is a good goaltender. And for the Flames to, once again, only have like one playoff run under his, in his Flames tenure, it stinks because like he was a good goalie. The Edmonton series just broke. Everything just comes back to Edmonton. I'm starting to notice a problem or a pattern, but it's the first, if I looked at the calendar correctly, it is the first time that a traded player is coming back. And those games mean a lot. I'm sure it's like a little emotional for players too, especially ones that were there long term. But there's a new goal, and that's to win for like as the visitor in the Saddle Dome, which is nuts. Like I would probably accidentally wind up in like the home starter net if I were him. But it's wild. There's only like a few Flames left from that 2021 team. The Flames like have definitely already played Zadorov and Lindholm, but obviously against the Canucks, duh. But I feel like now that they have their long-term homes in Boston, it kind of like, I don't know what the right word is. It's like a level of, okay, like cockiness and confidence. Like, I've got this, look at who wanted me. Look at who wanted to pay me, which is hysterical for Elias Lindholm because the Flames offered him $9 million freaking dollars. And he said, no, I'm good. And then he turned down 8 from Vancouver. And then 7. And I believe 7 with Boston. And then Zadorov is insanely overpaid by the Bruins. I'm sorry, but like $6 whatever million a year is absurd. I unfortunately don't have the correct cap hit pulled up, but I feel like that contract is, the Flames did pretty well with not signing either of them. I think as long-term Zadorov contract didn't make sense for the Flames. But I wonder if it's like, at least I'm on the winning team, assuming like you're part of like a different culture, a different pedigree, and there's a certain level of like pride that comes with that. And I hope that the Flames get back to that point where it's like, people are proud to be a Flame. People are like desiring to be a Flame. They want to sign here in free agency. But my final game is against the Nashville Predators. The Predators are such a fascinating science and social experiment because they had the makings to be a Stanley Cup championship team. They had all the ingredients, and it just never came to fruition. They had a general manager who made questionable decisions. They had coaches that made questionable decisions. Players leave, players retire, whatever happens. Like Pekka Rinne obviously retired, and then for them to be graced by God again with UC Saros is absolutely crazy and like one in a million sort of situation. But they have they've gone from a team that, like, where the Flames were 2 years ago, where it's like, okay, like, you're probably like a fringe playoff team. Like, you have enough pieces to make a crack at the playoffs, and what you do from there is entirely up to you. But now, like, they added huge pieces. They added Brady Skjei, Jonathan Marchessault, and Steven Stamkos this summer. Like, those are big names, and I'm excited to watch them. I think that's going to be so fun. And again, sometimes you're just watching hockey not because you have a rooting interest, but because you love the game. And I feel like that's kind of how maybe we approach the season, even though we will still get upset when the Flames lose. That's, again, finding that silver lining wherever you can is crucial. I just love that Barry Trotz walked right into the Nashville position and made immediate changes and made like a literal Stanley Cup contending roster. I think obviously the Matt Duchene buyout helped them a lot last year, which is like crazy. Matt Duchene, wild one. But then, you have Stamkos and you have, like, again, all the right ingredients, and it feels like the oven is preheated, and maybe you end up missing a little bit of, you're supposed to put 2 eggs and you only put 1, or whatever. But like this cake is gonna rise. They're gonna come out on top someday. And they have, like I mentioned, they have Philip Forsberg, they have UC Saros, they have Roman Josi. Like, these, like, they just keep getting better, and it's exciting. So I look forward to those 3 games. I think you can find a storyline in quite literally any game this team plays this season. So we will have to wait and see what transpires. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. Make sure you go check out Locked On Oilers, Locked On Predators, Locked On Devils. Did I already say Locked On Bruins? Go check out corresponding teams and have a wonderful, wonderful evening.